Howdy folks, Dr. Ed here with Total Body Healthcare, and I've got your Whiteboard Wednesday thought of the week. You know, when I think back to elementary school or church camp, Sunday school, whenever a teacher would bust out an object lesson, those lessons seemed to stick a little bit better with me. So I thought for the next several weeks here on Whiteboard Wednesday, we're going to do some object lessons. And today I want to start off with a bucket. Certain things that we know about a bucket. Each bucket there's different size buckets, right? Each bucket has its own capacity. In particular, this bucket right here is a 3-gallon bucket. And I point that out specifically because if I were to try to put more than 3 gallons of fluid into here, what would happen? Yeah, it'd spill out, it'd make a mess, I'd have something to clean up. No matter what I did, I cannot put more than 3 gallons in this bucket. If I tried, the new fluid going in might stay and the old fluid would come out, or the new fluid wouldn't even get it. The point is you can only put 3 gallons in this bucket. It has a certain capacity. And like it or not, your body has a certain capacity as well. There is only so much stuff that your body can handle, and that's what I want to talk about today. So if we're considering your body as kind of this bucket right here, and it has a capacity, what is filling your bucket to capacity? Because when your bucket spills over and starts to make a mess, we call those things health challenges, the diseases, whatever you want to call them. They are signs that your body has reached capacity. This is a little bit harsh to take, but I'm not talking about maybe a little sniffle here or a little muscle strain or something like that. I'm not talking about that. If you are on a prescription medication for a chronic healthcare condition, you're at capacity. You have reached what all that your body can handle, and it's thrown up the red flag and said, hey, I need some help. And it's thrown the red flag as symptoms. So if you're on a prescription medication for a chronic healthcare condition, you're at capacity. You are definitely one that needs to pay attention to this video today. So the question then comes in, what's filling your bucket? What's taking up some of that capacity? I want you to think about 2 other things with this object lesson here today. I want you to think about hoses and glasses. Hoses are going into your bucket. These are the things that are always going to be there. You really can't eliminate them, if you will. They're going to be there. One of which, you can't control the flow of them, and we're going to talk about that. How much that hose is dumping into your bucket. That is a choice that you can make. But what are some of the hoses in your life? If you're an adult and you have a job, that would probably be one of the hoses, because it can be stressful. How we react to coworkers, to our boss yelling at us, to deadlines and those kinds of things, that affects how much water or fluid, if you will, stress that is flowing into your bucket from your job. But again, if you're adult and you're employed, that's going to be a hose that's going to be in your bucket all the time. Another one that I think you need to evaluate is your nutrition. A lot of times we think of nutrition as being part of our healthy habits. Not really. We need to be doing this all the time because we're going to eat, right? So therefore, one of the hoses going into the bucket is your nutrition level. Now, unless you, number one, eat perfect all the time. Number 2, own your own farm and therefore grow all of your food, fruits and vegetables and meats and dairy and all that kind of stuff, and you know the source and you know that there's no added chemicals, then your nutrition is going to be causing some stress going into your bucket. Of course, that stress would be under the chemical stress category. But that's my encouragement to you today, is to evaluate family relationships. That can be a hose. You're not a loner, that you're going to have relationships. So again, whether family, friends, whatever, that's going to be a hose going into your bucket as well. So evaluate those different type scenarios. What kind of stress, physical, chemical, emotional, is in your lifestyle all of the time? Those would be hoses that are going into your bucket. The glasses that I was talking about, the cups, those are, they're not constant. It would be things like an unexpected deadline at work. You've got to work a little extra. So maybe that's a glass that gets dumped into your capacity at that particular time. Maybe your kids are in a particular sport, and during that season, there's a couple of glasses that get dumped in on top of your regular everyday stresses. Those are the things that sometimes they're not you can't avoid them. They're just part of life. They're not necessarily choices that we make. The hoses that are going in, that's where our choices can come in, because if you have a boss that does cause you stress, how you react to that coming at you determines the amount of flow going into the bucket from your work hose. So those are some of the choices that you can make. Again, if you're at capacity, we've got to do something about that capacity. Reducing the flow going into your bucket is going to help us do something about that capacity. But here's where the rubber really meets the road. Daily healthy habits. I consider daily healthy habits kind of like drilling holes in the bottom of the bucket. You already are doing some. I guarantee you that you have some daily healthy habits. Do you brush your teeth at least twice a day? That's a healthy habit, whether you realize it or not. That is a healthy habit. You're doing something good for your body. So those daily healthy habits are things, they drill holes in the bottom of the bucket, allowing some of that stress that has been building up to flow out. So it's things like a good regular exercise routine. I know I harp on that a lot, but you've got to move. Your body is designed to move. So adding in daily regular exercise is going to drill a hole in the bucket. Meditating on God's word, spending time daily in the God's word. Man, you can't get a better daily healthy habit than that. So that's a big hole in the bucket that you can drill right there. Vitamins and supplements. I mentioned nutrition earlier. That's a hose because we have to eat, but adding in the correct vitamins and supplements, that's a healthy habit. So that drills another hole in the bucket. So those daily healthy habits that you can do, the more of them, the more holes that you can put in your bucket, the more stress is going to flow out of the bucket. So stress is still going to be going in. That's life. How much? That's up to you. But then you drill those holes in the bucket, stress is going out the bottom. Now, I said that daily healthy habits is where the rubber meets the road. Here's where it really meets the road. If you want a bigger bucket, chiropractic care is what you need to be looking at. At its most basic form, you see chiropractors, when we are adjusting the spine, we're adjusting the spine to directly affect the central nervous system. And at its most basic job, your nervous system's job is to detect and react to the stresses that are in your environment coming at you. If you can detect and react to them faster, then you have more capacity. You, in essence, have a bigger bucket at that point. Regular chiropractic care will not only help give you a bigger bucket, it helps you react to those stresses better. Again, object lesson number 1, buckets. I'm Dr. Ed with Total Body Healthcare, and that's your Whiteboard Wednesday thought of the week.